Like, you're talking about a panic attack. You explained a little bit about your thought process and how you got in there. I want people to really get a vivid image of what it looks like so that they can really spot it if they see it. What are you doing in that moment? What are you saying in that moment? How are you feeling?
Again, I remember laughing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just something that was kind of funny, but I was just laughing in my mind, like, bro, chill out. I just remember a switch. Like, what I thought was like, you know, sometimes you see folks who are less fortunate that might not have mental health support, right? And you see them talking to themselves and you see them with episodes, right? That's how I felt, right? And I honestly felt like I was gonna be that guy on the street, to be honest. Every single thought, whether it was the stresses, it was just literally thought after thought, and my mind couldn't keep up. It just got to a point I was breathing heavy, crying. I just felt like a sense of disappointment as well, right? It was like, man, I've worked so hard in my life to get to where I'm at, and I have so much more I want to do, and now I'm in a situation where I might not be able to accomplish that, right? So I just felt like I was laying down my family, my wife, like everybody, right?
Right.
For me, it was just a moment of like constant thoughts, not being able to control your emotions, not being able really to control your body. I remember being on the floor like
curled up?
yeah, curled up. Yeah, if it wasn't for them comforting me and getting me to that point where I kind of just got me to a comfortable place where I kind of like dozed off.
Right.
And then my body was and mind was able to kind of
Reset.
reset. But even after that point, I felt like I was very sensitive, like to stress. Like I felt like I was on the verge of like happening again. Right?
Yeah. So I want to talk about that, about purpose. If you're getting so many different viewpoints and perspectives, if you're consuming that so much, it can be hard to determine who you are as a man. Why do you feel like it's important for us to understand our purpose as men?
When you have your purpose, you exude a sense of confidence and self-awareness, self-worth. I think it's also contagious too. If you're comfortable with who you are and you find that purpose and you work to it, it's something that it does to your soul, bro. And something that does to your just whole being. Because I know some cats back home, they're like, I'm not about to get into nature. Like, I'm not about to go hiking with you.
Yeah.
If it was something I wasn't serious about, they would probably roast me for a little bit, right?
Right.
The fact that I feel like I found my purpose in Black Men Hike, when I talk about it, when I walk, like it's in my aura, they realize, oh, like he's for real serious about it, right?
Yeah.
And that actually has gotten some cats to be like, you know what?
Let me pull up.
Yeah, let me pull up, right? Or just a mutual respect for it. Like,
Right.
yeah, I respect that. It's not my lane, but I respect that, right?
Yeah.
And I think when people respect stuff, then it's higher probability that they might explore it too. So, yeah.
So identifying your purpose just gives you, as a man, that confidence, but it also impacts the people around you is what I'm hearing.
For sure. And you might identify with this, right?
What's up?
My father's from Ghana. Right?
Okay.
And I'm the firstborn, right?
Yeah.
So
let's get it.
It's pressure there, right?
Yeah, there is.
Like your folks want you to succeed, but you also want to be successful to make your parents proud, right?
Right.
As a young kid and like the bar never being like too high, right?
Right.
Like I programmed myself to like overexert myself, right? That was a foundational thing, like from my upbringing. A lot of times I would put how I felt, my emotions, or just fatigue, whether it's body, mental, I put that aside for the greater goal, right? Like you got to grind it out to get to the top, right?
Yeah.
But we never really check in with ourselves, right? So that's when I realized, like, okay, I got to step back. I got to create a space where one, I can decompress, where one, I can reflect, be still. For me, like that was nature, bro. Like you get out there, if you stop, you hear nothing. You might hear, the leaves blow, but for me, that was that place. It gave me an opportunity to decompress. It gave me an opportunity to reflect. And it also gave me an opportunity to just like reevaluate.
Right.
Like you gotta give people who you believe care about you grace, right?
Right.
But also, if a person truly cares about you, I believe, they'll give you grace, right?
Right.
Because what would happen was I'd go in these individual therapy sessions, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I need this, right? But then you realize as you start going through this process, because I need these things, this is gonna affect my relationship in a certain way. So this might be making my partner feel a certain way because I can't communicate what I need or whatever the case is. So you have to trust the process, and you also just have to know that it's going to take time.
Right.
And one of the biggest gems I think we learned in our relationship was that with grace, you're essentially saying that somebody who really cares about you is not leading with ill intent. Right? Like, I grew up in a household where we are very vocal.
Okay.
My family, like, we can say how we feel to each other, and it might be passionate. 5 minutes later, we'll go get ice cream or go get some food, right? My wife is more internalized with her thoughts, right? So for me, like, sometimes I want to talk through things, right? Where she wants to process things, right? At first, you might think that they're intentionally not trying to hear you on both sides, right? But for us, going through that process of therapy, it allowed us to understand that we need to create a level playing ground, right? So it's about a give and take, right? So we create a floor. We're both very strong personalities, but the thing is, we love each other, right? And I think because that leads our relationship, I think it gets us in uncomfortable spaces so that we can grow. If my wife didn't love and care about me, right, maybe that effort to do personal work might have not worked, you know, and vice versa, right? So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How did you know your wife was the one?
We just felt like friends. We're the type of people that it could just be us and we could just be cracking jokes, maybe even like roasting each other, like, and just have a good time, man. And like, I feel like that's important. Like, we truly have fun. And also I felt like I never had to belittle myself.
Explain that.
You might like basketball a lot, right? But let's say your wife or your partner likes football. So you might, instead of maybe watching basketball, you might watch football, right? Just to accommodate your partner, right? So then you start kind of
changing
yourself a little bit, right? And I never really felt like my wife ever did that. I could be as silly as I wanted to. I could go hang out with my friends. She welcomes that, right? And the things that we did have in common really worked, right? The things that we had different, it works for us. And it's never like, oh, well, you need to come do this for me, right? So when I realized as our relationship grew, I realized I could be my true self, and that friendship was like the main piece there. And I think that is truly the best part about it.
I love that, man. Bro, when I went to Ghana, that was the first time I felt like just a black man. I'm not a black man who's a threat. I'm not a black man that is ghetto because he's wearing a do-rag. You know, I'm not a black man that's uneducated. I'm not a black man that's trying to rob you. I'm just a black man. That was the first time in my life that I literally walked outside in society and I felt no pressure to try and conform to what I think people's perceptions of me are. And I think we carry that weight so often that we don't realize how heavy it is until we don't have to carry it anymore, bro.
Man.
A lot of times, because we're in this society that we're in and we have all these labels put on us, we're always consuming what everybody else says we are supposed to be. We never get a chance to say, no, this is actually who I am. This is who I want to show up as. And so that's why it's important for us to have these spaces where we're able to just do that self-reflection or have those conversations where we're able to say, you know what? Nah, I actually don't want to be that guy that society is labeling me as. That's not who I want to show up as. I actually want to show up as Kizzle, who talks about black men's mental health, who cares about those type of things. Or I want to show up as Jelani, who talks about black men hike and talks about holistic wellness and prioritizing that and prioritizing time to yourself. Like, but if you don't get to actually speak to who you are and you're always consuming the messaging that's being given to you, then you'll never know who you are, bro. You'll never know. And that's why I really encourage a lot of black men to spend time in self-reflection, whether it's with a group of men, right, where you're able to hear different perspectives and then kind of see and piece things together for yourself, or by yourself. When it comes to our healing as black men, our healing looks so much different, bro. Like, there's a lot of work that happens before the actual work happens. There's a lot of like mental work of like, damn, okay, you know what? I do have these things I need to work on. I do have a problem with this thing. I do realize that I need to make changes here. And this is a solution for me, and I should invest my time in doing this. Like, there's a lot of mental work that has to happen for a black man to show up at a wellness event, at a retreat,
Oh, yeah,
at a
for sure.
hike, in a safe haven,
Yeah.
right? Like to start therapy, right? So
Yeah.
I say something similar when we have new safe haven members. I tell them like, yo, bro, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Because
That's huge.
it takes a lot to get to this point.
Man.
And I actually say courage too.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage to get to a point where you're like, as a black man, you know what? I'm actually going to work on these things
Right.
because I see it as something that will be beneficial for myself and my family. And I know that this is the thing for me. It does take a lot, bro. Well, there's a study that says like men that identify and know their purpose are less likely to experience depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
Right, which is very telling in itself. It says a lot that in itself will reduce the rate of depression and anxiety.
sure.
It shows that we are looking for that. We
Yep.
do need that, right? We do need that like mental compass that tells us like, okay, cool, this is aligned with my purpose, this is the route to go.
Yeah.
Or this isn't aligned with my purpose, I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
And I think what happens with men that don't have their purpose is they're not able to make a decision that's in line with where they want to go because they don't really even know where they want to go. Then it impacts every other aspect of their lives. Because if we're talking about relationships and we're talking about heterosexual relationships, I don't know any sane woman that's getting in a relationship with a man that does not know his purpose and have a vision. It's hard to have a vision when you have no purpose. I can't give you a vision to where I'm going when I don't even know what the purpose of my life is.
Exactly.
Where am I going?
Man.
Right? And the way in which I always tell men to find their purpose is to find and prioritize God in their lives.
Yeah.